Mixtapes and Tasty Cakes podcast. I'm Bert Lepore. He's Damian Monte Carlo. We're hanging here with Angry Mike D, and we talk about music, movies, and so much more.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not a real tree guy. If I even put up one, because it's just a fucking mess.
It is. I mean,
but then again, like, think of it this way: when you get one of those fake trees, you got to take each layer off, and then you got to mark each layer in there, which layer it is. So they each have their ups and downs.
And then you got to pack it away, store it. That takes up space. But these real trees, man, they're expensive. Remember, they were always like they were $25, $30. Then they were 40 for a while, and then, dude, it just seemed like since like the past 3-4 years, it's been going up $10-15 a year. Now it's up to like your $25 tree, you're spending 74 like that. We paid $70-$75 for the tree. It looked nice when we got it.
I don't have
a couple
tree
days.
envy,
The thing was dying after a couple days.
I have no tree envy. If I put a tree up, it could be this big.
Yeah.
So I don't care. I don't have to have the biggest tree.
Yeah. No, we just get a regular size. Nothing too crazy. I mean,
yeah, dude. I was like
reason.
$85. I was like, for a Christmas. I mean, you gotta be fucking nuts. But we got one. We put it in there, and then we milked it and kept it up as long as we could.
Yeah. We usually take it down.
He was trying to keep it up till next year.
Yeah, get my money's worth.
Oh, that's funny.
What a mess, though, to clean it up. What a mess.
It is. Yeah. I just grabbed it. Actually, this one was so dry and dead. We took everything down. I literally lifted it up and just like walked it out like this, just carrying it upright. I mean, the thing wasn't moving. It was so
Paul Bunyan over here.
Yeah.
Demo.
That's what it felt like. I was just holding the thing like it because it was dead. There was no weight to it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was so dry. There was no density to it. It was. But this season is over.
All right, Demo. This is the second episode of this year so far, and we're going to talk about bands that we think should have either made it or been bigger than what they actually were. What do you got for us, Demo?
So, basically how we're all going to have our different views on how we think bands should have been successful, which ones. But I picked bands on my list that pretty much had all the key ingredients. Major label deal, money behind them, big time management, tours, there's pretty much everything that you need to be like, to be a successful band, but for some reason or other, it didn't happen. So that's what I based mine on. And I just picked 5. It was actually pretty quick. I picked it off the top of my head. I'm sure there's going to be a lot. You guys probably picked some that I was thinking of too. And there's so many. I mean, you could probably list 100 bands that should have been huge. And for one
I think for
they weren't.
For some of mine, I picked some stuff that was like stuff that was bands that were kind of successful, but not as big as I thought they should have been. And then some that should have made it that maybe I'm a little biased because it's from the area and they didn't get out of the gate, But yeah.
You're probably taking one of mine. I'll let you have it.
Nah, it's all right. That's all right. We'll go around and see what happens. Demo.
Yeah, there's a million of them we could think of.
Who's your first one on the list?
So the first one, I don't have them in any particular order. They just came from the top of my head. The first one I thought of was Warrior Soul. Do you remember them?
Oh, yes. I've seen them before. Yeah.
They were a 90s band, and they were like one of the first bands that I remember coming out that was.
I don't know if I remember them.
I remember.
Yeah, they came out in 1990 was their first record. They were signed to Geffen Records. Their management, they were signed with Q Prime Management, who is Metallica's manager. I think
a huge management company.
Tesla, Queensryche. I think Def Leppard. I could be wrong about that.
They took, I think Q Prime. I think the note is that I think Q Prime had a chance to take either Metallica or Def Leppard, and they went with Metallica. I think that's what happened.
Right. Okay.
Probably the better choice.
Yeah. Either way, you couldn't.
They would. Yeah.
I mean, anyway,
either way.
Yeah, they had, Geffen Records, Q Prime Management, right there. It's like 1-2 punch. You should be successful. They came out in 1990 and they sounded like a 90s band. You know, they didn't sound like an 80s band that released it in the 90s and they progressively changed. They sound like I thought they were ahead of their time. And their album, their first 3 albums came out like a year apart, 90, 91, 92. And I think even the one in 92 is still like a couple years ahead of its time. But yeah, the lyrical theme was pretty much your teenage angst, kind of like Kurt Cobain formula, which I think could have worked in you know, around that time. It was very anti-authority, very, very like fuck you, punk, you know.
I'm thinking with that name, it's like a metal band.
They were. No, they were.
Yeah.
They were metal, like I don't even know what you could compare them to. Like,
they even had a little rappy shit in there too, didn't they? A little bit, if I can remember.
I don't remember that. I mean, they were sort of like they kind of had like a sort of like a slight alternative flavor to them. They toured with Queensryche in 91. What album was that? Is that Empire maybe, or
probably Empire? If not right after Empire, that would have been that.
Yeah, that's when Queensryche was enormous at that point.
It was either Empire. Right after Empire was the Paradise record, whatever it was called.
Yeah, it was just the
Promised Land. Promised Land.
Yeah, okay, so it was Empire. So they toured with them.
I got one for you, Damo. I seen Warrior Soul. I'm almost positive it was Warrior Soul at the Trocadero opening up for Soundgarden, who opened up for Danzig. I think that was the bill.
They were. I would probably put them in like musically, probably almost like Soundgarden, like Louder Than Love.
That was the tour they were on.
Okay, so yeah, they were perfectly in line with that, and they could have been like one of those bands. I think the singer Corey Clark was originally from Detroit, and then he relocated to New York. So they're like a New York City band, kind of.
Right.
But yeah, they put out they put out a bunch of records, but the first 3 were on
Geffen. They're still around.
They are. Yeah, they still put out records. But after the 3rd record, he was fighting with the record label, and then he just kind of like that was pretty much it. But yeah, I was looking at their members, because they have, if you look on Wikipedia, man, they got a whole list of members. It's funny, about 7-8 years ago, this buddy of mine from New York, he was playing guitar for them, and he gets a different band. The singer Corey Clark, it's a different band every tour. So if he wants to go out and tour, he just hires 3 guys.
It's him. It's pretty much him and hiring.
So this guitar player friend of mine was helping him put a band together. He actually asked me if I wanted to play drums for them, but it was like a 2 or 3 week tour or something. I turned it down. I was like, it wasn't really worth it for me, but it was kind of cool that they asked.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I kind of forgot all about that until.
That's pretty wild. Mike D, what you got on your list?
Yeah, I'd like to, this was harder for me than I actually thought it was going to be. And I'll tell you why, because it's like I like a lot of underground acts. And, it's stuff that I know won't make it into the mainstream. So I thought this would have been easier, but, I got a few out of it. So I'm going to start with this band. They're called 3. It's the number 3. I don't know if you ever heard of them or not. I know I played them for you a couple times, Bert.
I never heard of them.
And they came out at 94, somewhere around then. I think they put their first album out in 99. There's really not much info on the web of them, really. They have a Wikipedia page, but they started with this record company, Planet Noise, and then they were kind of they got lumped up with the funk metal and stuff like that. But they were just so much more. It was like pretty kind of harmonies and hooks and lyric, but the lyrics were kind of like just very dystopian. But you had to listen to it because it had a dark side. But when you listen to the lyrics, it really had a dark side.
When
really
they come
good
out
stuff.
with all like that funk metal, like when did they come out? Late 80s, early 90s, or all that funk?
This was probably their first album was in 99. It was called Paint by Numbers.
Okay, so they were a little bit later, yeah.
A little bit later, but they kind of got lumped up into that. They were even like kind of like a Faith No More's, but not. Mm-hmm. And their second album, man, Summer Camp Nightmare, that came out in 2003. And wow, that's probably one of my favorite albums. And I think you can only get it on CD. It never came out on vinyl, which I really wish it would. And
on like Spotify or anything?
They're probably on Spotify. I would think so.
Were they lumped into that 311 crowd? Were they lumped
What's
into
that?
Were they lumped into like 311?
No,
they're
not rappy. They're not rappy at all.
You know what? Maybe that's why, because they're called 3 and then there was a 311. I mean,
yeah, it could be
3 days grace.
Yeah.
And something stupid like that, you know.
Just typing in 3. You just type in 3 on the internet, and what comes up? It's like you actually have to type in 3 band to get them. So it's kind of it's a little rough even looking them up. So that could be
I know the
reason.
feeling. I know the feeling.
Yeah, I'm not finding anything on Spotify.
They jumped
7
on
Mary 3. You know how many 3s were out at that time?
Oh, ton.
311, 7 Mary 3.
Yeah, you know what?
3 Days Grace.
Yeah.
3 Doors Down.
Yeah.
But now they're actually on Metal Blade right now. And they went from being like this kind of like, you know, softer band to going into like a progressive metal kind of act. So I like their earlier stuff a lot better, even though their new stuff's good, but it kind of blends in with a lot of different stuff that's out now. But
okay, you know what? I found
their first few albums worth a shot.
It's on Wikipedia. They're the number 3 American band.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, they were.
And actually, I believe their original drummer actually left them and went to Coheed and Cambria. They actually toured with Coheed and Cambria at one point.
Josh Shepard.
So, Josh Shepard. Yeah,
that's right. Okay. Yeah, you know what? And I work for Tama, and he's one of our artists. I sent him.
Oh, cool.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So he was the original drummer of 3, Mike.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. See that? I never thought the guy was that old. I thought
it was brothers actually, and it was Joey. So
see that.
It's even stranger to see the brothers kind of break up into different bands, but
yeah,
And you know what kind of sets them like? I'll give you another facet of him. He has this crazy singer, which is Joey Efford, and he plays guitar also. Has this crazy flamenco style of playing the guitar. Man, it's just worth the listen. So
yeah, seems pretty interesting. I'll check them out.
Check them out, man. It's. I think this is a band that got past a lot of people, and they probably should have been heard a little bit more.
Yeah, the guitar player Billy Riker. That name sounds kind of familiar.
Well, they're from New York, Woodstock, New York.
Yeah, Woodstock. Yeah, huh? Yeah, I'll have to look into that.
I'm gonna move on to my pick. I mean, there's 2 of them on here that are Philly based, New Jersey based, Philly based. So, you know, for my own thing, I guess, Heaven's Edge. And it's not that I think, you know, I think it was too late. I think it was like a year or two too late. And I think that's what happened, you know? Man, they were great. They were great. I was a kid, you know, pretty much when they were breaking. So I wasn't even old enough to go see them. Let's win to go see them like on a Sunday or something at the Empire or something like that. But that band had everything that you needed. They had, you know, and you know, great. They had Neil Kern. Neil Kern was the producer. That album sounds fantastic. Yeah. He did Doc. I think he did Judas Priest too. And like, I mean, he did a bunch of stuff. The album sounds great. The band was great live. They were formed around 87, I think, by Reggie and Mark Evans. And man, it's just Skin to Skin. I mean, if you're too young to remember the thing, do you remember that when that was on MTV?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Mike remembers.
I remember that. I have that album. I have it on.
Yeah,
CD.
That's fantastic record, man. They were huge, man. Huge.
I really like that album.
Yeah, it's great.
I mean,
their second album is really good too.
The second album's a little different, but it's still good. Yeah, it's still good. It's a little different.
I don't see. I missed that one. I don't even remember there being.
That came out like 10 years after that. Yeah, it was an indie. It was an indie. Yeah, came out like around 99.
I think it was Jackie on that one. I think Jackie was on that one. There was a couple other.
Yeah. I remember I had to get that on import.
Oh yeah,
I remember they used to play them on Rockers Only a lot for like.
Oh, they were huge on there. Yeah.
Yeah, they were like the only band. They were like the only Philly band that really got support from MMR because they didn't play Cinderella at all. Like,
no, come to think of it, they really didn't.
Nah, and I know that Tom Kiefer was kind of like a little pissed off about that they didn't get any, and he's made comments about it back then too. That you know that he was kind of like pissed off that he didn't get any support from them, but Yeah, Heaven's Edge did, you know, and they were different than the other bands out of Philly too, where it seemed like a bunch of them got signed. They were all like kind of like blues based hard rock bands, but they were more like in line with like the LA, like the LA scene, like with the shredder guitar players, you know, and that sort of thing. So they were definitely different than the other bands that were popping up getting signed.
Yeah, and even when the first record came out, it did crack the Billboard Top 200. I think it came in like 141 or something like that, which was cool.
Mm-hmm.
Man, when that Skin to Skin video was on TV, on MTV, I was like, man, they're going to be fucking huge. And then grunge came in and just changed everything.
Baby was 16. She looked like 21.
No,
that was
that's Up Against the Wall.
Up Against the Wall.
Up Against the Wall.
That was them though, right?
That was them.
Yeah.
That was Heaven's Edge.
That was them. Yeah. Okay.
I love that song. Yeah. Bad Reputation. I mean, that whole record's great. You know.
Yeah, they had great tunes. They had a great look. They had an incredible stage show.
Yeah. I think maybe if Find Another Way came out first, maybe that.
I mean,
I might have to dig that up and listen to it again. I haven't heard that.
To be the second
God.
song. And then
right.
Well,
25, 30.
Well, that was the format, right? The format back then was you had a rock song, maybe two, and then you had the ballady kind of. You know, there was a format.
Yeah, the ballad was
we were all doing.
Right. The ballad was always second or third.
Right. So it just, I guess, didn't get to that point. But if it did,
yeah, they never got to that. Yeah.
If they did get to that point, it could have been different. But I just think it was a year and a half, maybe 2 years, a little late. I think if they came out a little earlier, man, or if they, if they got out,
came out like late 88, early 89 or something, it would have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what though? And this is like a big wonderment for me. It's like, how did like a lot of these glam bands just not make it past that? Like,
there was a million of them.
Yeah, right. And not many really, reached the Nirvana era, which is kind of crazy when you think about it. It's almost like these record labels just squashed them, man. Like, didn't even give them a chance to write anything new.
No, I mean,
try anything out.
There was like a very few, like Slaughter still had some success up until like 92 into 92 that you could still find their videos on MTV. There was, Motley Crue was done by that time.
Mm-hmm.
Bon Jovi was like
he stayed around.
Height. Well,
he had to change. He had to reinvent himself. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he reinvented him. He didn't come back out until 93 was when they came back, and they had a whole new look, which was smart. In hindsight, it was very smart. But yeah, not a lot of bands really survived it. It was tough. Even for the bigger bands.
It's like one of those things where if you're an up and coming band or you're waiting to get signed and you do get signed, you build up to this whole thing. You have everything perfect down, and that band had everything perfectly down. They were the perfect prototype. Like they were it. And what happens is record labels are scooping all that stuff up, and by the time they got them, it changed. So it's like all that hard work.
And that's like the only, and a lot of like music historians will even say this, that it's like the only time in music history where that's really happened, where just like overnight, a whole entire industry turned their back on something, because a lot of it had to do with MTV. MTV was super influential, and they were kind of, I guess they were kind of hoity-toity, and they put their nose up to that shit, and like Seattle was the new thing, so it's like, okay, that's the hot thing, fuck everything else. But if there was no MTV, or if there was just like radio, I think you would have saw slow gradual stuff mixed in, because it was like that in the in like the early part of every decade was like that, like early 70s, early 80s. Like it still kind of sounds somewhat like the previous decade.
Right.
It wasn't like so super overnight like this was. Even like now. I mean, 2022. I seems like the bands from the past 5 years still kind of sound the same to me.
I can't tell anything from the difference from the 2000s till now. It sounds like
which is saying which is very telling, because look how much used to change back then. Yeah.
But I mean, they still play gigs once in a while. I mean, we all know them pretty good. They play gigs once in a while. They're still great live. They still perform great live. They sound great. Mm-hmm. And hopefully they'll do something, you know what I mean? Maybe put something out eventually. And I'm looking forward to it. Great guys too, a whole bunch of good guys, man. But that band, I think would have been huge, and they were signed to a big record company too.
Yeah, Columbia.
It was just the change. It was just the luck. It was just the luck.
Yeah,
Damo. Timing.
Yep.
Damo, what you got, buddy?
Next one I got is Angel.
Okay. 70s.
Came out in mid 70s. They were discovered by Gene Simmons, first band that he discovered. They're signed to Kiss's label, Casablanca. There was a lot of money put into the band. They were sort of like Kiss was all dark and black. Angel was the total opposite, all white. They wore all white. They had a great stage show. Like they would start the show with like some kind of like it was like the stage was like heaven or something, and there was like this voice talking, and I guess it was supposed to be God or something, would introduce them, and then they would rise up from the stage and everything. So it was like this huge, but they weren't a Christian band or anything.
I remember it was the 70s. It was the
70s, yeah. But they put out 5 albums during that time, one every year, 75, 76, 77, 78, 79. They were in the Jodie Foster movie Foxes. If you ever saw that.
I don't remember that. Yeah.
The concert scene, that was them, but they never made it. They never had any hits, and a lot of people say that if they only would have held out a couple years more into the 80s when MTV, they probably would have made it, because they're a very visual band.
Mm-hmm.
So they were wait, they were an American band.
They're from Washington D.C.
I'm trying to find them because there's like a billion of them in here. First of all,
I'll tell you
if you
what,
do like Angel Band,
you'll know two names,
no
Mike.
picture.
You'll know two guys right off the bat that was in that band. Punky Meadows, which you might even remember from the Frank Zappa song. Punky Meadows, and if I always say his name wrong, Greg Graffia, whatever, who had his own band too. And that guy
so he did
for a long time.
Yeah, I love the name of that's I'm not saying it right. Okay.
So after Angel, Greg Giuffria formed his own band, Giuffria. He was the keyboard player, and they actually had some hits. With MTV.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah.
And then what happened is I guess in the 90s, he kind of got out of the music business, and he started some company. He invented like some sort of microchip or something, like for slot machines, where slot machines could play music and stuff. Now, so when you go into a slot machine, you hear in like some band's music, he developed that, and he's like a multi-millionaire just from that. So he's totally out of the music business.
Now, Dame, how do you exactly say his name? So I never get it right.
Giuffria.
Okay, cool. Mike, was you going to add to that?
I didn't. I just looked them up, and I'm looking through their members and stuff like that. And I don't know if Damien mentioned it because I was too busy trying to look them up. But Rudy Sarzo played for them at one point.
Really?
Yeah, briefly, like right towards the end, like maybe like 1980.
It says 81 here. Yeah.
Yeah, right before that was
right
that
before
was
we
right
went into Quiet Riot. Before Rudy,
yeah, I guess it was
came back to Quiet.
It might have been like in between like Ozzy and Quiet Riot, right around that time. But also, when Ace Frehley left Kiss, they wanted Punky Meadows to replace him. Gene and Paul wanted him, and then he was. I think he insulted them with like some comment like, I don't know, like he might have asked about the money or some, I forget exactly what it was, and they never called him back. But
wow. And you know what?
Like every other band, they reunited and they're still doing shows.
Yeah, Punky Meadows did something a couple years ago. Didn't he come back for a little bit? Did a couple.
He did, and then they eventually, him and the singer kind of reformed the band. So they're still out there doing it now.
Oh, fun fact!
He's pretty old.
I got a fun fact for you guys. Dane might know this already. If you look at their logo and turn it upside down, it reads the same.
Right, just like the Dio logo,
which is pretty. Yeah, it's pretty cool. If you turn it around the other way, it still says Angel.
Which I think, from what I've heard, was part of the stage show. Also, they had like the big logo when it would flip and it would still say Angel.
Crazy. That's crazy. Yeah. Mike D, what you got?
Yeah, I'm gonna I'm going to hit you with another one. I think they might be a little bit bigger than I think they are, but they're still not in the mainstream. When you mention the name, I don't think too many people really know them. But Dog Fashion Disco, man.
Yeah,
this is a band. They came out. Yeah, they came out in '95, and I think they should be a lot bigger than they are. And they kind of got lumped up with that Faith No More and Mr. Bungle, kind of, like they're a clone of them. But I don't know. I mean, it's you're going to do that type of music, and of course you're going to get compared to them. But they had a little different facet. They were kind of everything from metal, thrash, doing disco, doing funk. Neat little band. And they broke up for a few years, and then they got back together, and the fans actually funded them for an album because their record label didn't want to have anything to do with them anymore.
Oh, wow.
And they didn't want to release them either. So it was kind of like they just left them in limbo. So they did some kind of like fund me, and they got like more than enough money, and they did 2 albums out of it.
Oh, wow.
And I think they're actually doing another one now. They just released another track, and I'm trying to find out, but I know Albert likes this band.
Yeah,
that's a band I've always heard their name around, but I didn't know anything. I didn't know what kind of music they were or
they're good.
Their albums take you on a different journey, man. It's not all the same. You don't get. It's not boring. I'll put it that way.
If you start off with one theme, I would say the easiest one to probably digest first is probably Adultery. That's probably the easiest one to. Yeah, and then go back.
Either that one or maybe even Committed to a Bright Future.
Yeah, them too. Yeah, the old stuff sounds very. The old stuff sounds very demo-y kind of sounding, but like I know Mike just picked up the vinyl of Committed to a Bright Future, and they redid everything probably because the record label.
I was pissed about that at first, and I'm like, I look on their website. Oh my god, they got Committed to a Bright Future on vinyl. I'm buying it. I bought it, put it on. I'm like, something doesn't sound right. After some digging, I found out they redid the album, and I was pissed. I'm like, what the fuck? And I probably should have known. They redid the whole cover on it for the better. I'll put it that way. And then, you know what? After another listen to it, I'm like, wow, this is really good. It might even be better than the original one. I mean, it was just so cleaned up, and you could hear everything. And
it's better.
It was, yes.
And the guy sings better now. Everything's just better. It's just.
Yeah, I'm more than happy.
Yeah, I'll check them out.
It's almost like they cut out the fat and brought everything up, cleaned it up and made it sound full. And it's chaotic.
And I know they have
it's good.
Yeah. They have a new keyboard player too. So I think part of that was getting rid of the other guy's keyboards in it also. Right. So.
Right. Well, bands will do that, especially if they get the rights back or something like that. They'll re-record stuff. And it all comes down to money usually. All right, guys, for my next one, and listen, this band had a lot of success, but I still think they should have been bigger. The Cult. I thought the Cult should have been huge. They started around 83, and they're still kind of around, but I think there's only 2 original members, so I think it's still pretty much Ian Asbury, Billy Duffy. They released 10 albums from 1984 to 2016, and like I said, they had some success. They were all over MTV at one point. That Sonic Temple record was pushed. It was huge.
Oh, yeah, that was pretty big.
But after that record, they just kind of, after the record after that, they fell off a little bit. I don't get it.
Yeah, they're still. I mean, I know what you mean. I mean, they're still. I mean, I saw them. We went to go see them maybe 3 years ago, and then they played. They play somewhere down Atlantic City. We saw them, but. Yeah, I remember seeing them at the Electric Factory. So they'll play like the 2,000 seat venues. But they should definitely be like
they should be huge.
An arena headliner band. I mean, for some reason.
And they've been around a long time. They went through a lot of different members too, and a lot of like even we talk about geez, I can't. Why was the drummer? He went to Guns N' Roses. Why can't I think of his name? Matt Storm. Yeah.
But he wasn't around that long. He was he did that tour and he did the next record.
Yeah.
And then he came back for the album in like 2000s. But the guy they have now, Jonathan Pest, has been with them for a while.
And he's also the guy that was in Danzig, right? The Sugar Cubes, I think, at one point, right? John Tessa and White Zombie. Wasn't
White Zombie, Rob Zombie. He played with Exodus.
Yeah, he played with a lot of people. Tessa played with a lot. He even played. I know he did something with Danzig too. He did a tour or something with Danzig at one point. He's been around for a long time. But he always gets a good gig. You know, he finds a good gig. You know.
Yeah. Well, he's the Cult is like his gig now. He's been in that band, I don't know, 15 years maybe.
Oh wow, really?
Yeah, he's the longest tenured drummer. But the rhythm guitar player, it's always been like, and the bass player, it's always been like.
Yeah, whatever happened to the bass player that was on Sonic Temple? Jamie something, right? It was Jamie.
I forget his name. Yeah, but he left, and I don't really think he's done anything. I think he just kind of got out of the business.
Yeah, because it seemed like they had a great line. I thought that was a great line.
Yeah,
you know, Damo, what you got for the next one?
Next one is probably in my top 5 favorite bands of all time, and they're not a successful band at all as far as like record sales. But I'm going with Vayne. They were a San Francisco Bay Area band in the late 80s.
I remember that.
I played it for you before.
Yeah. They would play like with a lot of the Sunset Strip bands, but they were not, and they might have looked the part, but they didn't sound like that stuff at all. I mean, it wasn't like happy bubblegum, sex rock, whatever you want to call it. You know, their stuff wasn't like party music. It was more like had like a darker, sleazier edge to it. You know, it was kind of remind me of almost like the first LA Guns record, maybe like a slight kind of like a little alternative kind of goth flavor to it.
His voice was different. His voice was really
very, very different. I mean, nobody sounds like him. The band is like a very unique sounding band. And they're signed to Island Records. First album came out in 89. It was produced by Paul Northfield, who did like Rush and a bunch of other bands. And pretty much like from what Davey Vayne said is that the label, they signed with Island because the label, they had other labels that were interested in them, but Island Records gave them 100% total control of, you know, how to control their music, as far as like, you know, he said some labels wanted them to, you know, record like poppier songs, and they're like, no, it's like, you know, so he had 100% total control over it. That's why he signed with them. Didn't work out, but you know, they saw things their way. It's like, it was like their art, you know. But they recorded the second album and it got shelved, and then they got dropped. And then Davey and a couple other guys, they got together with Steven Adler when he was kicked out of Guns N' Roses, and they formed that band Road Crew. And then that was like at Adler's like peak of like drug use, and they never got signed. And then they reformed Vayne, and ever since like the early mid 90s, they've been putting out albums like maybe every 4 or 5 years, but they're still out there doing it, man. And the last 2-3 records have been like phenomenal, probably the best, you know, since the first record, but easily one of my favorite bands.
Yeah, I dig Vayne too. I did them. I thought Davey Vayne was pretty damn good. Beat the Bullet, great song. The video was cool. That whole record, especially the first record, I love the first record. Greatest eye opener is when you talk to somebody who goes, "Oh, Vayne, that glammy band," and you go, "Yeah, it's the same guy who did the Death Angel record," and they're like,
That's
"What?"
Right? Yeah, right. He produced. I think did he? It was
definitely Through the Park. He might have did. He might have did.
And it might have done. Yeah, and I think it was another one.
So how funny is that?
He was. Yeah, you know, if you remember, like back then, you had the thrash crowd, then you had like the glam hard rock crowd, and both thought it's not like today where you could like both genres, man.
Yeah,
back
you're
then,
a poser or you were a thrash head. Yeah.
Dude, you were like you were going to fight or something. Like they called them posers, and you know, it was.
And we always liked both. You know, I think most of us like a lot of both of it too.
But that band was from the Bay Area, which was all like thrash bands, and you know, and they kind of like that crowd, kind of embraced them because they knew that they weren't like the Poisons and, you know, like the kind of happy LA bands, you know, because they definitely had like a dark, heavier side to them, you know.
Yeah, that album's great. The other stuff's good, amazing. But I know the first album really well, and the first album's still one of my favorite records.
Oh yeah, it's really good.
Yeah, there's a lot of good songs on that record, man. A lot of good stuff. And it didn't really, after the first record, it kind of just faded away, right? Pretty much.
Yeah, they just became like this kind of like they're like a pretty big cult band now, you know. Like I see them, they play these festivals, and you know, they'll put them on like they'll be like the opening slot at M3. You know, they'll go on like 11 in the morning, which is like, fuck that. But you know, Vayne's playing. We're there 11 in the morning. You know, and they got a pretty huge crowd. You know, waiting for them because they'll play like maybe one or two shows a year,
right?
And you know, they'll do like the festivals. You know, we did the Monster Rock Cruise 3 years ago, and they were on there. And I got to see them play and got to meet them and, you know, talked to Davey Vayne for a pretty long time. I had a cool conversation with him, which was really cool. Super nice guy, great stories, real funny and everything.
Now, are any of them guys from the original band besides Davey that's still there?
Yeah, the original band's still together, except
Mr. West. Is Mr. West there? Or is he gone?
Nah, he's the guy that's not, but everybody else is.
Mr. West.
Yeah, he's the only one that's not in the band for some reason. But.
Hey, that's tough to keep together that long. That's tough, you know. That's pretty wild. Mike D, who you got?
This is going to be a surprising one, and you might not agree with me, but I'm going to tell you why, and I'm going to go with Faith No More.
Okay.
I you know what, I kind of figured that they were going to come up. Not just for you, because when I was thinking the bands too, I you know, because they were successful, but they were, you know, they should have been a lot bigger.
Absolutely. And I mean, I don't think they need an introduction. I think everybody knows who Faith No More is. And I think, you know, they didn't get the right airplay with some of their stuff. It was a little challenging, but what makes them where they should be bigger is the bands that they kind of, you know, influenced, you know, the Corns. And I know he even regrets it, like the Limp Bizkits. You know, you hear Mike Patton saying he wishes he never formed Faith No More because of Limp Bizkit. But you know, I mean, when in today's age, when they're putting bands in the Hall of Fame for being influences and stuff, this is I believe this is a band that definitely belongs in there.
Yeah, maybe this should be considered, and I'm sure,
absolutely
I'm sure they will. You know, eventually.
I think it's weird when that Real Thing record came out. They were through the roof. They were huge when that came out. Everybody, no matter what kind of music you listen to, you had that record. Everybody had that record.
You knew the video was a great video.
And you know, you read some of these sites, one-hit wonder. They weren't a one-hit wonder in my book.
No,
you know, they had like 2 or 3 right off the bat that were huge.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, they were not a one-hit wonder band.
Not at all. Not at all. But you know, I guess Angel Dust came out after that, and you know, I got
some hits on that, minor hits.
Yeah, and then it kind of fell off. Maybe they got too artistic for the mainstream or whatever you want to call it. But Patton's very out there, so you know, he's an artist. He's a real true artist. So you know, so I don't know if that came into play. Maybe, you know, sometimes you know you bring, you know, it's not like you don't record a record and bring it to the record company. The record company goes, all right, we're putting it out. They decide to listen to. They decide what comes out, not you. It's usually them. So that could have happened.
I think they had a lot of control though. Because, I mean, if you listen to their stuff, I think that a lot of it would have been nixed by record companies having control over it. So I think they kind of had some kind of control over the music.
And then, you know, and once you start losing members, I don't know how big it was for them, but when they lost Martin, that could have played into a little bit of that too, you know?
True, but I mean, I think they got better when Martin left in a certain sense.
Right.
I mean, I like Martin. I think Martin's a great guitarist, but I think it kind of.
I always saw him as almost like a Slash, like when they not playing wise, but like
just like his hair and everything.
The whole look.
Yeah.
Not that and I'm not saying he looks like Slash. It's just he had the glasses.
He stood out.
Kind of nerdy glasses.
That's the guy you
stood
remember.
Out.
Yeah.
Right. He stood out. Yeah. That's when I first saw Guns N' Roses' "Sweet Child of Mine" video. Slash stood out.
Well, he was, you know. Remember, he was in Bill and Ted.
Right. So that's what I mean.
Yeah. That's
the guy that stood out.
Right.
Mm-hmm. You know, now when you have the guy that stands out wearing the wacky whatever, and he's gone. Sometimes I don't know. You never know.
Right.
Now I don't know. I mean, I even hear stuff like the Red Hot Chili Peppers were like a big influence on why Faith No More wasn't as big as they were.
Could have been.
As far as like they were getting him thrown off of tours because of Anthony Katie's believe Mike Patton stole his image and his sound and look, and it's like
could have had a lot to do with it.
They had a big feud, those two bands, and that could have had a lot to do with
politics.
But I think that's a band that definitely deserves respect. And
you know what? It's they're definitely a band. Like there's bands like that where like then they'll disappear and then maybe they'll reunite 15 years.
Well, they did.
Yeah,
they put out.
But like sometimes those bands will reunite and then like they're not appreciated and they're playing like bars and clubs. But when they reunited, I remember they played like
they are
Electric
playing
Factory.
Arenas.
No, they're playing great venues now. That's what I'm saying. Like time was good to them.
Yeah,
because I think people realized how great they were and they gained a lot of respect over the years. Not like a band
they have,
but they didn't stay like cult status. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like they weren't like push on the ground. We're like, okay, they're back and they're playing.
They still
Joe's
knew who
Bar
they were.
down
Yeah,
the
they knew
street.
who they were.
Yeah.
They're great.
Sometimes bands get bigger. Like look at the Misfits, right?
Yeah.
They're playing arenas now.
How crazy is that? It's crazy.
That's insane to think that because they didn't play a gig in 35 years or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean with Danzig, you know.
Well, look at the big thing, even as it always comes back to Kiss. Look at the big thing with the 80s, even though there was a lot of 80s Kiss fans, the 90s guys, the grunge guys really had a play in some of that Kiss reunion. You know, they were all
it made it cool again.
Right.
Yeah, made it cool again.
If you were in the 80s, Kiss was passe, you know, the makeup thing and all that. Now, it's like all them grunge guys, you started seeing Kiss on magazines they never were on before because all them grunge guys they were our age. That was their influence.
Yeah, it's right. It's when your fans grow up and they start the bands and they start announcing their influences is when that influencer becomes respected,
To go back, that Faith No More record, when that Faith No More record came out, no matter what you listen to, everybody, I think, loved that record. That record was in everybody's player. It was. You can hear interviews with James Hetfield, and they're like the Metallica, Metallica was heavy as balls back then. And they were like, oh, this cassette has been in the van since it came out. Like, and you would be like, really? Because it's
wearing their t-shirts and everything.
Yeah, it's crazy. I want to move on to my next band. And this was another band that had some success, but they're such a good rock and roll band. And they weren't a hair band. They weren't lumped. They might have got lumped in a little bit, but they look like regular guys. And they dress like regular guys. Tesla. I think they should have been huge. I mean, they did have a lot of success, but
they're on the cult level. They're definitely on like a cult level.
Yeah. I mean, them guys were just fantastic. Great songs. Great live. They really, really are the reason that you had the MTV Unplugs and all that. And, and they did that record here, right? Who was doing that before them? Nobody, right?
Yeah. Right.
That started that whole acoustic thing really, I think, stemmed from, well, you could even, it's either Tesla or you could even stem that from, did the Bon Jovi, Richie Sambora thing come first? Maybe.
I don't know.
They're both around the same time.
Right. So maybe Bon Jovi and Richie Sambora did this, I don't know if it was Living on a Prayer, one of those songs. They did it live on one of the award shows. And maybe Tesla was like, fuck, we could do a whole set like that. This is gotcha.
This is a good it's a good question. I think they wrote both around the same time.
Because that Tesla record was recorded at the Trocadero, I think.
It was, yeah.
Yep. Oh yeah, it was. Or was it it Troc or was it the Electric Factory?
Troc. The Electric Factory, I don't think it was even around.
Okay, the Bon Jovi, Richie Sambora acoustic thing was MTV Awards. That was September 1989. So one was that Tesla album. When that come out? 5-man acoustic jam. That came out in 90.
Right after.
It was but it was recorded in July of 1990. So the Bon Jovi thing was first.
That probably sparked
almost
it in
by a
Tesla.
year. Yeah.
Tesla took it and ran with it. That's my guess.
Yeah, they turned it into a band thing.
Yeah. And that album's fucking great, man. That album's great.
Yeah, it is good.
Jeff Keith, great rock and roll voice, man. Gritty, soulful,
Great front
gritty,
man, yeah.
Great front man. A lot of good players in that band. And I think maybe except for maybe one of the guitar players, they're pretty much still the same band, right?
Yeah.
Who left? I can't see it. Tommy Skio? Is that his
Tommy
name?
Skio, yeah.
Skio. Yeah. I mean, Frank Hammond, another good guitar player in that band.
Yeah, he's great. Very underrated.
Yeah, when I see him, he reminds me of Rick. Rick reminds me of him for some reason. I don't know why.
I tell him that all the time.
No.
Yeah, yeah, it's funny. You didn't know that?
No, I just said it. Wow. Yeah. How funny is that?
I tell him that all the time.
See, Rick,
we call him Frank Hammond's son.
Dude, how funny is that? I had no clue. It must be true. Yeah, man. And they had, love song. They had so many good songs. And you know what was great about them? A couple years ago, they had another hit out of nowhere. And it was like, what the hell? I'm hearing Tesla on the radio, on regular radio.
Yeah, it had some. Yep.
Yeah, they're still putting out records every few years.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So that was a band that also had success. But I think they should have been bigger.
Yeah.
They should have been an arena band.
Right. Yeah, like a sustained arena. Yeah, they're just like the Cult, like the same type of career,
Yep. And like I said, I mean, there's by any point, I think they're successful. I don't think they're working day jobs now. You know what I mean? But who knows?
No. Yeah, that's all they do.
But they should have been, and I don't want to compare them to Journey, but they're that type of band where they look pretty stripped down. They're not really too fancy. They're just rock and roll guys playing up here playing rock and roll. And if it's heavier, it's heavier. If it's lighter, it's lighter. And Jeff Keith ain't Steve Perry, but at the same time, Steve Perry, Jeff Keith is got his own sound,
Oh man, that Steve Perry solo album.
Yeah, I threw it.
Oh man,
very yacht rock. Guy's a fantastic singer, but boy, we put it on. We were playing PlayStation or whatever, and we put it on because we'll do like random picks. We'll just go through the album collection and just pick whatever. So we're forced to listen. We forced ourselves to listen to whatever's there, just so
we couldn't make it through it. We could not make it through it.
The ballad hit that he had.
Oh, we heard it too. It was on there.
Yeah. What is the bell? We gotta look that up.
Steve Perry.
Steve Perry. What is the bell? Steve.
Is it Foolish Heart? Or was that?
Yeah, it's Foolish Heart. That's it.
I think that's it.
That's it. Oh, Sherry. What a great song Oh Sherry is, though.
Yeah, that is good.
That album, like, I think we didn't even make it past the first side on that.
No, it got so yacht rock. I was like,
yeah,
do it.
Yeah, it's a little cheesy, but it is good. I mean,
the guy's phenomenal. It's great for what it is. It's great for what it is. Damo, I think you're up.
Another one of my favorite bands, probably my favorite '90s band was a band out of New York called Degeneration.
Oh yeah,
and I remember I saw them in the back of like Circus magazine, like around '93, and it was like bands on the rise or whatever, and it had like had a review for their album, and it had a picture. I was like, oh man, they look cool, they got like short black spiky hair, kind of like glam punky look. It was different for that time, because everybody was like looking like flannels and everything.
Right.
But yeah, I got it. The album was like really raw, kind of punky, but got a little bit minor airplay on MTV. Then the label Chrysalis Records dropped them, and then they got picked up immediately by Columbia, and they recorded an album with Columbia. It came out in '96. Rick Ocasek from the Cars produced it, and they toured with the Ramones, the Kiss reunion tour, Green Day, and no hits on that. They had a third album that came out. It was a couple years after that, 99 or 98. It was produced by Tony Visconti, who did all the David Bowie records, and still nothing. And they kind of broke up. And the singer Jesse Malin, who me and Donna go see them Just go see his solo act. It's like singer-songwriter stuff, totally different than the band, but he's just a really good songwriter, kind of like Ryan Adams, kind of, but yeah, they should have been huge. And then like, a year or two later, the Strokes came out and they became like a huge New York City band. Kind of like I always felt like they kind of like set them up for that,
They took that and put it to the next level, I guess.
But they had a lot of money behind them, as far as like big tours and everything, but they just can never catch on. They're almost like a 90s Guns N' Roses kind of thing,
right? Yeah, I don't know much of their stuff, but I remember them having like, and I remember hearing the name out there, because when I first hear the name, the first thing I think of, I'm thinking punk as soon as I hear the name, and so I listen to it.
Had that vibe sound, yeah.
Right, like who was the band that Billy Idol was in? Or they were Generation X, or what were they called?
Generation X.
Generation X,
yeah.
Yeah, so they were like a throwback 70s punk band, not like the 80s English punk or any of that stuff. So it was sort of like the Dead Boys, kind of like New York Dolls ish kind of stuff, more like rock and roll based punk,
Right. Yep. Mike D, you got anything else on your list?
Well, you took two of my picks, Albert. I'll tell you that. You definitely got me with the Heaven's Edge and Tesla there. How did Nelson not make it?
You're joking.
No.
They should have. I mean, they were pushed out the asshole.
They're huge. Made it. They're huge. But, and then grunge came, and then they were shelved for like 5 years.
Yeah. After the Rain, was that the song? Wow,
yeah, it's a freaking catchy song.
This might actually be the second time Nelson was mentioned on this show.
Is it the second time?
Hey,
I think it might have been me before too.
Hey, wasn't Bobby Rock the drummer? From
Vinnie
Vincent Invasion, Bobby Rock was the. I was like, what the hell? When I seen that video, I was like, "What's Bobby
Rock?" I
bought
his autobiography off him a couple years ago.
How is it? I never read it. Is it good?
It's really good. Yeah,
some good Vinnie Vincent.
I'll give you a serious one. Dangerous Toys.
It's a good pick.
What happened with them?
They're still around.
They recorded "Sportin' a Woody" and you're not going to go forward a song like that.
That was a fun song.
I love that first record.
Until the day I die.
That first record's great.
That's why they didn't go anywhere. But cheesy songs like that.
Yeah, the first record.
Yeah, but I mean, look at all the cheese Van Halen put out. Come on, you can't just say.
Yeah, but they were never.
Yeah.
David Lee Roth wouldn't call this "Sportin' a Woody." We came up with something else.
Yeah, he would have found a clever way to say.
Yeah,
he would have called like I don't know, "Sporting a Leisure Jacket" or something like that.
I thought he was singing about baseball. He's got his lumber. He's sporting a Woody. I don't know.
But that record, I'm telling you, man, that first record is so good. Queen of the Nile.
Yeah, is that with like Scared? That's
on there. Queen of the Nile, Scared. Yeah. There's so many good songs on that record. There's
how about what's the other hit they had?
Shadows
Fall actually
did a cover of it.
Songs. Yeah, it was really good.
They still put stuff out.
Shit.
They still put stuff out.
What the hell was that song?
What for
Dangerous Toys song. Yeah.
Tease and Pleasing.
Tease and Pleasing. Yeah. Shadows Fall covered that.
Yeah. That might have been that might have been the first song that came out. And then it was Scared, and I think everybody knew the Sportin' a Woody. I don't know if that was actually even legitimately released.
I don't think that was released. No.
You know what?
I remember in one of the magazines they had that song with the lyrics in there. Why that?
They had that mascot was cool that they had.
Mascot was great.
Dude, they had great album covers.
Great. The second record wasn't that good. I fell off after the second record. I'm like, because the first record was so good. I'm gonna have to listen to it again because I haven't heard it in years. But the first record was so good. When I got the second record, it was like Hellacious Acres. I don't know what the hell how you even say it.
Hellacious Acres.
Hellacious Acres. What they called Hellacious Acres.
I'll even throw another one out there. Nitro.
I love the first Nitro record.
Guess what? That first one was great.
Love it.
How fucking rageous. OFR.
Seems like romper room.
You know what? That first Dangerous Toys album went gold. I had no idea.
Did it? Yeah. Big. It had a couple of hits on it. What about the Nitro? Did the Nitro go in?
It probably went brown.
You know what? I love the first record, and then the second record, I didn't like it all.
No, I didn't like it either.
Yeah, that was way.
It was overboard. Yeah, it was way over the top.
Yeah.
Yeah. Listen, I had the Jim Gillette singing tapes when I was young. Do you remember the singing tapes? Yeah. You see the glass break? You see the glass break?
Glass. Yeah.
Dude, he became like a bodybuilder after that. Like he became like really jacked, man. Like,
he was like really into UFC and shit.
Now he looks like me.
He's a big dude.
He got pretty jacked at one point. Yeah.
He was like a toothpick, man.
Yeah,
dude. But they were great. They were just a little over the top, you know. Well, a lot over.
You would think the drummer would have been in that. What was his name? Bob Rock.
He was in that band too.
Yeah. That's who we're talking about.
Yeah,
from Nelson.
Yeah, he was in that band too.
Yeah,
that's the same one.
Same guy.
Vinnie Vincent Invasion, and I think he played with Lita Ford after that.
He's with me for now.
He was kind of jacked. Like he was a big dude.
He was always big.
He still is. He's in incredible shape for his age.
He was big back then. He was big when he was in Vinnie Vincent.
Oh yeah, the dude is ripped even now.
Yeah, he's big. Dude, fucking crazy. I got one more from my list, and it's another local, and they're called Tidewater Grain. Absolutely love this band. If Heaven's Edge was the band of the late 80s to come out of our area, this was the band late 90s. And this band,
that album was great.
God, it's so good. They were even good before that. They used to be called Crossbone Pie, and then they became Tidewater Grain. And great guys, first of all, great guys, great songs. Kevin McNamara is probably my favorite singer. You know, I mean, like legit, counting all the big guys, he's probably my favorite. And it's just his lyrics are totally different. His tone, it's like David Lee Roth meets Ian Asbury with grit, and I can't even explain how good he is. But he plays in a band now called The Age of Truth. It's a little heavier, it's a little more stoner rock kind of, but it's also awesome, you know. And his voice is just ridiculous. Here on the Outside was the record, and also our buddy John Daly, another great guy, great guitar player, great guy. And John runs what? He runs. For those about the what's it called? Make sure I get it right.
For those about the rock.
For those about the rock school. Yeah. Let there be rock.
Let there be rock.
Let there be rock school.
Delco.
And John's a great guy, man. So's Kevin.
Very nice guy.
Man.
Kevin Shirley produced a record, dude, who was like Iron Maiden's producer for the past 20 years. Mm-hmm. The record sounded great. When I got it, I was like, man, this is going to be big. And then
it should have been
didn't do anything. It was like, to me, I even back then I described it to friends as like a good version of the Foo Fighters.
Oh, better, yeah. I would say a better version of the Foo Fighters.
Yeah. That's what it reminded me of. It reminded me of the Foo Fighters, but better.
Yeah, with balls.
Or like a perfected version of that band. Yeah, you know.
And they toned down, because if you listen to their earlier stuff when they were Crossbone Pie had a little splash of Faith No More in it. It had.
Yeah, I never heard that. Yeah.
They got toned down a little bit. They were a little crazier. Yeah. They went for shit, man. They weren't just straight ahead. They did a lot of different shit.
You have anything? I
absolutely have a bunch of it. It's fucking great.
You have it on cassette?
No, see, I put it on CD, so I got it on CD.
Did you?
Yeah. So I somehow got the original demo from the Crossbone Pie thing, and then they came out with Tony Mecca was working with them for a little bit before they got. I guess that. On that was it Rough Nation or Rough House? What was the record label? I get confused.
It was Rough Nation, but I think it was under them. It
was
like a subsidiary of them or something.
But they changed their look a little bit. They tried to make them fit in. Maybe look like a lick band or something. I don't know what the fuck happened. But
because if you look at the photo of that here on the outside,
he looked different.
Record. It was they definitely had people telling them, "Oh, you got to chop the hair off a little bit, dye it, you do this, do that,
Because they remind me they had like the band besides Kevin. Kevin had his own look. The band kind of reminded me of like a Skid Row kind of look,
just kind of like a street rock,
very street rock. But that band, man, oh my God, that band's so good. And like I said, if Heaven's Edge was the band in the late 80s around here, they were the band in the late 90s, and they should have made it also. I mean, Kevin's so fucking good. He should have made it, or should be a bigger name, than we know. Man, that's that right. And even Glenn Hughes sang backing vocals on one of the songs.
Oh yeah.
I don't know, maybe it was American Star he might have sang the ending on. What the fuck?
Yeah.
Glenn Hughes.
He did like ad-lib stuff, I think.
Yeah. I mean, I don't understand. Something happened. I don't know what happened, but
maybe bad management or something.
I don't know. I mean, they deserved way more. Anything else, Damo?
Yeah, I got a local band, early 90s band, I think. They put out like a cassette single. It was really good. I mean, one of my favorites, when I was a kid.
Don't even say it. Don't even say it. It took me a second, and then I caught on.
The band called Steel Justice.
Fucking got me again, Damo. You eased up in there pretty good, Dame. I wasn't until you said cassette single. I'm like, wait a minute, I know where he's going.
They had a minor hit with their video on Dial MTV, "Set Me Free."
Dial No TV.
Wait. Let me hear about that. Wait, you had a video on MTV?
No, you fucking nut. He's breaking my balls.
No.
Oh, I thought like you might have.
You said you're all right, Spider.
That's funny.
I'm like, I thought it was like some kind of like local show or something he's talking about or something.
That was fucking funny. Dame, you got me, and then you got Mike. You got Mike right.
Yeah, right. Without even trying.
I'm like, I didn't even hear that story.
I would have told it a couple times it was true.
I really do have one more. With the Beautiful Creatures.
Oh yeah.
I think it came when that come out, like 2000, 2001. I think the album came out, had a really great packaging,
a lot of good guys in that band.
Cool logo. Yeah. It was signed to Warner Brothers. It was Joe Lestay from Bang Tango, which, for a band like, 80s band, to get like a second life, with a new band was very, very rare, So it was him, DJ Ashba, who went on to do 6 a.m. and Guns N' Roses, and the drummer was Glenn Sobel, who's playing with Alice Cooper now.
Mm-hmm.
But they were on Ozfest, and remember a couple of the songs got like minor radio airplay. Producer Sean Bevan, he did like 9 Inch Nails, and I think he worked with Manson and Slayer and stuff. So, it kind of had like it kind of sounded like a modern, like a slightly modern for that time version of like Buck Cherry, AC/DC kind of.
Yeah, it was like right before that, right before Buck Cherry kind of broke, right? Or somewhere around.
But it was definitely like Buck Cherry was sort of just like a throwback AC/DC kind of band, rock and roll band. But Beautiful Creatures was that too, but they had like a more modern guitar sound and everything. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, they had a good look and everything, and just couldn't get it done.
Was it just one record they did?
DJ Ashba left, and then they put out like 3-4 years ago. They put out 3-4 years after that. They put out a second record, which was it was okay,
Right.
But
yeah,
not
well, that's like even like you mentioned Bang Tango. That's another band that's like.
I like Bang Tango. They were pretty good.
Their first couple before the lineup changes and all that stuff. Their first couple of records were, and they were different. They weren't. I wouldn't throw them in that glam thing. They were like funk rock meets. I don't know.
No.
They were like a funk goth or something.
Yeah, definitely. With some of that LA element, it was sort of like three genres kind of like interwoven.
Yeah, they were different.
Together, Yeah.
Even if the single, the Someone Like You, that didn't sound like anything. Especially that verse song, and man. The deep voice during the verse. It was That was a different song. Still a great song. That song held up for me. It's still a great song.
Yeah.
And then what was the second record? Dancing on Coals, maybe? Was that the?
I think that
song
was
was
the title
cool.
of it.
That was another good song.
I like that album.
Yeah, I got to go back and revisit those two records.
They're good.
Yeah, me too.
Good. I did watch that.
Yeah.
I was telling you the other day, I just watched that movie they put, the Bang Tango movie. It talks about their career.
Yeah, it was pretty interesting.
It was pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty good. But you know, everything changes once that grunge kicked in. It changed a lot of stuff for bands. You know.
Yeah.
But you right.
I have one more too, if you want to.
Sure.
The Giraffes, and you remember them
at the zoo? I see them.
I played that. Yeah, they're the long necks. They eat the leaves up in the top.
Long necks. Yeah.
Nah, but back in 2005, and I think they had a couple albums out before. But it's a band called the Giraffes, and I think there's actually two bands called the Giraffes. So you got to watch out. We're looking for it. But this band was like
a hip hop thing or something.
No,
they might like it. You might like pop punk.
Yeah,
I don't know what you
look for their self-titled album. That's probably the only one you could really find at this point.
Brooklyn band.
You'll probably like
it.
Right?
And wow, that album just kicks a major ass from the beginning to the end of it. It was like, now I don't want to say it's better than it, but it was like Appetite for Destruction on speed.
Really? Yeah, I'm so it's a self-titled album. That was like their third record, it says. They're on Razor and Tie Records.
Yes. Huh. But check out that self-titled album,
well,
man.
Yeah.
And I think what happened was the singer Aaron Lazar, he had some heart problems. I don't think they I think they stopped touring and they stopped making stuff for a bit. And it looks like they do stuff sporadically now, and it's just it doesn't seem the same to me, but that album was just incredible.
Yeah, another band I'll check out.
Yeah, that record. I heard their other stuff. It really didn't do nothing for me, but that one record is unbelievable.
Wow.
Yeah,
I would love to have this on vinyl.
There we go.
Love it.
Yeah, it's on Spotify.
Is it like a white looking record? Like I don't know.
With like a longer something.
Yes, yep. That's the record. Dame, check that record out.
Yeah,
that's the record.
Yeah, I'll check it out.
Yeah, guys. I think that's all I have for now. You guys got anything else?
Nah, I'm gone.
I'm spent.
Mixtapes and tasty cakes. We'll see you guys next week.